Now, the soft landing that we have been planning for and preparing for is now looking more and more likely. Many countries around the world have paid for this kind of progress on inflation with much higher unemployment or with negative quarters of economic growth. What Australians have been able to achieve is an economy where growth has continued to tick over, albeit slowly, where unemployment has stayed incredibly low, jobs are being created, wages are up, but inflation is down considerably, and we see that in the numbers again today. Our cost of living pressures aren't disappearing, but they are easing. We know that the fight against inflation is not yet over, but these are incredibly encouraging signs that we are getting on top of this challenge in our economy. The worst of the inflation challenge is now well and truly behind us, and that's one of the reasons why we are confident but not complacent about the economy in the year ahead. Now, we know that our political opponents will try and dismiss and diminish what Australians have been able to achieve together in their economy. We know that Australians are doing it tough. We know how important our cost of living help is, and we know that the best thing we can do, the most important focus that we can maintain is on the cost of living, and that is the government's approach. The Albanese Labor government is focused on beating inflation and helping with the cost of living and building Australia's future. Our political opponents, Peter Dutton and the Coalition, are focused on conflict and culture wars, and they would make people worse off and take Australia backwards. Now, if we look at the impact of the cost of living measures over recent years on the cost of living pressures that people face right around Australia, it's worth reminding people that Peter Dutton did not support cost of living help for Australians doing it tough. If Peter Dutton had his way, Australians would have been thousands of dollars worse off, and they will be worse off still if he wins the election. And that's because when he was the Health Minister, he went after Medicare. Coalition governments want lower wages, not higher wages, and he will push up electricity bills with his nuclear insanity that he has been trying to foist on the Australian people. So the choice and the contrast is very clear. The biggest risk to inflation and the cost of living and the economy in 2025 is Peter Dutton and a coalition government. For our part, the Albanese Labor government is focused on getting inflation down, getting wages up, rolling out this cost of living relief, keeping unemployment low, because that is the best way that we can make a meaningful difference to the cost of living pressures that we know Australians are still confronting.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a recent interview, Treasurer Jim Chalmers delivered a strong message about Australia's economic outlook, stating that the worst of the inflation challenge is now behind us. According to the Treasurer, the much-anticipated soft landing the government has been working towards is becoming more likely. Many nations have had to endure higher unemployment or economic downturns to combat inflation, but Australia has managed to maintain economic growth, albeit at a slower pace, while keeping unemployment at historic lows. Jobs are being created, wages are rising, and inflation has significantly declined. The latest figures reaffirm this progress. However, Chalmers acknowledged that cost of living pressures are still present, even as they begin to ease. He emphasized that while the fight against inflation isn't over, these positive trends indicate the government's strategy is working. The Treasurer expressed confidence in the nation's economic direction while also stressing the need to remain vigilant in the year ahead. He also took aim at the opposition, arguing that while the Albanese Labor government is focused on managing inflation, easing financial pressures, and securing Australia's future, opposition leader Peter Dutton and the Coalition are more concerned with conflict and culture wars. Chalmers claimed that under a Dutton-led government, Australians would be worse off. He pointed out that Dutton had opposed cost-of-living relief measures that have directly benefited Australians. According to Chalmers, if Dutton had his way, households would have been thousands of dollars worse off. Furthermore, he criticised the Coalition's track record, recalling that as Health Minister, Dutton targeted Medicare, and as a leader, he would prioritise policies that could lower wages and drive up electricity costs through what Chalmers called his nuclear insanity. The Treasurer framed the upcoming election as a clear choice: continued economic stability under Labor or increased financial strain under the Coalition. Ultimately, the government remains committed to lowering inflation, increasing wages, delivering cost-of-living relief, and keeping unemployment low, because, as Chalmers put it, that is the most effective way to support Australians still feeling the pinch. What are your thoughts on Jim Chalmers' remarks? Do you believe Australia is heading in the right direction? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on Australia's economy and politics.